Hi, this is Street Assist. How can I help you? People ask me all the time why I started Street Assist, and to be honest, there's not an easy answer to that. The project in itself's got its own story, but for me, my story started back in 2003, where I did a charity walk across the Sahara Desert. I had a lot of time in my hands to think about what I wanted to do in my life, the job I was doing at the time, and I came to the conclusion that I needed to find a job that allowed me to help people, basically. And Street Assist has allowed me to do that. Also, when we did Street Assist, it's one of these things where the end product was always key in terms of, our main aim was to get people home safely. And as much as that's still the same, it's more about the volunteer journey now, more than anything else.
Volunteering has 100% influenced my career. I do not believe I would be where I am had I not done Street Assist. When you're sober in an environment where majority of people are intoxicated, there's so much happening, yet they don't realise it, and it's a scary place to be, and you've got to be brave for that. So
I joined Street Assist because I wanted to give back to people who had helped someone I know in a sort of vulnerable situation. It was definitely something that eye-opened in realising that not everything needs to be done through the emergency services. I think a moment for me is after we had dealt with a service user and they had had a positive outcome, and to know that I had been a part of ensuring someone's safety and someone's child was in a safe place because of something we did. No one goes on a night out and wants to end up in the back of an ambulance.
I think it's really important that we are not judgmental. These things can happen to anybody. People get a little bit drunk. It could happen to us. It could happen to our kids. I've also witnessed a lot of people being very frightened when they find themselves in these situations where they are out of control and they need a lot of reassurance, and sometimes these kids actually just need a hug.
My team was called to a job at the Jazz Bar, and it was a young male who had mental health issues and was in a really bad place at that time when we arrived on the scene. He stated very clearly he wanted to end his life. One of the team members actually managed to build a relationship with him. He was very scared, in tears, and constantly asked for weapons to end his life. Called the ambulance, and the team member went in the ambulance with him. So he built up that really good trust, that rapport with that. And about 3 or 4 days later, we got a message from his mum just to say that had we not been there and had we not built that relationship with her son, the story would have been totally different today, and how appreciated she was for the help that we had given. Sometimes you have to ask service users if they do feel like they're going to end their life. It's a tough question to ask, but it's got to be asked sometimes, and that's where the help comes in, because we're quite open and honest and forward in asking these questions. Challenging part, I think, with Street Assist, and maybe challenging, maybe frustrating sometimes, is you maybe get called to a nightclub or a pub, and it's a young girl that's sitting outside, and the duty of care for that club or pub, or even the door staff, they've actually removed that male or female from the premises. So for me, that's a big thing, because each club, pub and door staff member actually has a duty of care, and that duty of care is no showing. So then that obviously reflects in other areas where all these people are vulnerable.
I've worked closely with Street Assist for over 3 years now as part of Operation Night Guard, which is Police Scotland's response to nighttime economy in Edinburgh. They're a highly valued partner, and our officers work alongside them on a Friday and Saturday night to help ensure people are staying safe in the city centre.
One of the ones that stuck out to me was being called by a venue to a woman who had been found outside on the street unresponsive. She was in a very vulnerable position, and through speaking with witnesses, we were able to determine that she had likely been spiked. We, with the assistance of the Scottish Ambulance Service over the phone, administered naloxone and brought her back to a responsive state, and were able to hand her over to the Scottish Ambulance Service and Police Scotland. The most challenging part of volunteering is having to accept that not everybody wants your help. and walking away from a scenario where you know that you can help, but it's just not welcomed.
Street Assist helps people understand there's a level of safety, additional support in the night time. It also then allows venues to kind of drive the business, because if a situation does arrive that they need the support, often there's a wait with ambulance services or paramedics being able to be called or arrive on the scene. Street Assists have a really good response time.
What makes Street Assist different from other organisations, I think, is Neil's understanding and local understanding of Edinburgh city centre, as he and his team actually know what's really going on from week to week, and that puts them in the best position to be able to deliver what's really needed. I think it's scary to think if they weren't there.
And why we support Street Assist is simple. They do an absolutely amazing and valuable job in our city centre, keeping people safe in the evening. And it's such a hugely important part of what Edinburgh is about. We want the night time to be as safe as we possibly can. We want everyone who comes to enjoy themselves to get home safely. And if anyone does have any issues, then they've got highly professional people to get them home and to give them the support that we need.
We wanted to take part in Race to Prague for Street Assist to give ourselves a challenge. You know, it was a very spur of the moment idea. We didn't know anyone else competing in it, and we thought, why not do it? We asked Neil if he'd be happy for us to choose Street Assist as our charity, and he was more than supportive, and you know, he really helped us get through it.
And everyone else that does Street Assist was so supportive.
People were sharing and liking our posts, just interacting with us. It was really good.
Yeah.
We wanted to do it because we wanted to give back something. You know, we've only started volunteering last November, but it's already given us such a different perspective. You know, we enjoy going out.
Yeah, so many opportunities as well.
Yeah, we've made so many friends from it.
I think I first heard about Street Assist from a friend, and I thought that sounded like a great idea, especially as a parent of a teenager at the time. I think Street Assist matters to Edinburgh. I think that is illustrated by the sheer number of people that we help. It's often over 100 people on a weekend, and it just makes you think, you know, what would happen to these people if we weren't there? Street Assist has made a difference to the lives of a lot of people.
My name is Melanie, and I am the mum of a 17-year-old boy. Our son and his friends were leaving a club when he was the victim of an unprovoked attack. He was punched from behind, knocked unconscious, and left with serious injuries. There was blood everywhere. His girlfriend and friends were with him, but at 17 years old, they had no idea how to cope with what was happening in front of them. I think they were both so shocked and traumatised that they didn't fully realise who was helping them. He found a damaged card in his wallet. We could just about make out it was from your team. In that moment, everything changed for us. We realised that alongside his friends, there was also trained, compassionate people there, people who knew what to do, who would take control of the situation and give him the care he urgently needed until further help arrived. We truly believe that your quick response and the care you showed may have saved his life, or at the very least prevented his injuries and the outcome becoming even worse, and we'll never forget it. And on behalf of our whole family, I want to say a huge, heartfelt thank you. Thank you to the volunteers who were with our son that night. Thank you to everyone who gives up their precious time late into the night to keep strangers safe. Your compassion, your professionalism, and your willingness to step in when others might understandably freeze or panic is extraordinary. Thank you all.
So many people come to Street Assist with different stories, different reasons for doing it, and you know, we've seen people grow as people over a period of time. And it's just one of these things where, you know, the project's about people. People just want to help other people, and I think that's the main thing. And it helped me in my journey, and it's helped other people in their journeys too.